Hey guys, welcome back. Hope you had a good week. Today we're talking vehicles old versus new. Alright, so old versus new. What's better and where is all this innovation coming from and where is it going? Again, all of this video actually is my opinion. I'm just going to support it with my opinions and things that I think make the most sense and are the most logical and cost effective and stuff like that. So, I'll start out by saying, the whole question in this video is, are new cars really that great? And I think it depends how you look at it. Personally, I would rather have an older vehicle. Here's why. So right now we're in my 96 Toyota Camry, 4-cylinder. And I bought this car for a number of reasons, but I now commute 25 miles to work, so 25 miles there, 25 miles back. So bare minimum day, if all I do is go to work and go back home, I'm burning 50 miles. You don't want to get a new car and then put that many miles on it. You can, I'm not saying it's bad for the car, I just mean that for your resale value purposes, it's not great to rack up a bunch of miles on a newer vehicle. My other reason being is, kind of going along with that, these older vehicles, it's kind of reached just depreciation. Now this one, I don't think I've ever showed you guys this car. It's in pretty good shape, but there's a couple little rust spots and there's some dings, and I really don't care what happens to it. So this drive every day beats my car up a little bit. I got like 3 or 4 new cracks on the windshield where semis have kicked up rocks and stuff like that. So I think just for cost effectiveness, if we're talking on the money side of things, I like the older vehicles because you get cars like this, and this Camry 4-cylinder with the 2.2 has been known to run forever. We have a couple of them that come into the shop and they've got 400. I know for sure one has 412. But they're bulletproof, and they've already reached that depreciation point. I paid $1,000 for this car with a new timing belt and a new water pump. So cars reach a point where they go like this and they drop like rocks, and they kind of level off again once they hit their like maximum depreciation. So that's kind of the beauty of a car like this, is I could drive this thing for 10 years if I keep it clean and it's not rotted out. It's in similar condition to now, and it still runs good. I keep up on maintenance. This car's worth $800 or $1,000 all day long because it's a running and driving vehicle. Where's all this stuff going? Because you look at like a newer Avalon, okay? It's got a 3.5 liter. It's front wheel drive. In comparison to a lot of the older cars, it's a lot lighter, and it gets 32 miles to the gallon, maybe 27. And a lot of these older cars were getting that. Like this car gets, if I'm nice, I can get like 37 miles to the gallon out of this vehicle. And so you can't tell me that all this innovating over the years and all of these more efficient, more capable, like 8-speed transmissions and stuff like that that's coming out, direct injection, all this new ECU programming, you can't tell me that all this is really going to save your fuel economy. And I think part of the problem now rests on people expect their vehicle to do so many things and to have so many things in there. You got a phone? Oh, especially now, you got a phone, that thing better charge it wirelessly. Oh, I better be able to hook up to my radio and talk to people on my phone while I'm driving down the road. Oh, I better have a giant LCD display telling me when to check my tire pressure. Well, all that stuff is great when it works, and all that stuff is great, but it costs money. So the more touchscreen radios and, leather wrapped dash pieces, all that stuff costs money, and people want it. So you can't really take all that stuff back out of vehicles now that it's been in there. And I think that as all this overabundance of technology is added to vehicles nowadays, you got to cheapen them up somewhere, because you always hear people say, well, they don't make them like they used to. Well, one, when you add all that stuff, you have to take away somewhere else, and that's kind of a twofold issue, because now we have to lighten other things up, make the sheet metal thinner so we can afford other stuff. It's also government regulations. Oh, your car can't weigh more than this. You have to have this safety feature. It has to get this kind of gas mileage. You have to use this kind of Freon. All that stuff plays a factor in how these vehicles are engineered. But I think a giant piece of the puzzle here is all this stuff we keep adding. More radios. I keep saying that because They've gotten way too fancy. All these heated and air-conditioned seats, all that stuff is going to cost more money. And if you built that vehicle to the same quality that a vehicle was made in the late 90s, like Toyota of the late 90s compared to Toyota today, I think these Toyotas lasted longer. I think the two major things is, if you built a vehicle to this quality and added all that extra stuff, it would cost $80,000, and people aren't going to pay that. I think the other issue is, people say, well, I never had problems with my insert 1980 Toyota pickup here. Well, sure, because there's a lot less going on in there. Again, with all these regulations and all this different stuff we have going on with the government regulations now, and different fuel economy goals that manufacturers have, stuff like that, there's so much more going on in a vehicle nowadays that, of course, there's more to go wrong. It's like saying if you have 10 landmines laying in your yard, you're more likely to step on one than if there's just one, because there's a lot more going on in your yard. Same thing. There's so much going on in these vehicles nowadays. Everything's being monitored. Everything's being regulated. There's so much fancy stuff. Of course there's more stuff to go wrong. So I think that's a huge part of it. Last thought of the day is, you look at these vehicles now, and you gotta wonder what the used car market's gonna look like in years to come. I mean, right now and they're getting old now, but those 90s era, like Hondas and Toyotas and even like Chevy pickups and stuff like that, was so easy to work on that the common person buys them, if you have a little mechanical knowledge, and they can rebuild them themselves. They can diagnose and fix things themselves because they were so user-friendly. And stuff's just not like that anymore. It's just really not. I mean, there's so much stuff. You even have to go to the dealership to get this reflashed or that reflashed or this inspected, or to get this special service tool to access this part, or whatever the case may be. It's just, I think it's really we're gonna see kind of a decline in the used car market repair world when people are doing fixes on their own, which is, I mean, what they want, because they want you to bring your car in to get work done. But don't make something so complicated that it's almost completely unserviceable. So, this wraps up the weekly discussion. Let me know what you think. What do you think is better? Do you prefer, and I realize that some people just don't like driving old cars. I just don't mind. I don't mind missing all the creature comforts. But, let me know what you think. Do you think that the new cars are all they're cracked up to be? Do you think that the old cars were built better? What do you think is the best solution? Let me know. Like, subscribe, hit the bell button, drop a comment below. I'd like to know what you say. See ya.